What would you do if your sister-in-law called you a neglectful parent in front of your whole family? My sister-in-law had been the family's perfect mother since her daughter was born 5 years ago, with everything color coordinated and Instagram ready while I let my son run wild through mud puddles and actually enjoy being a kid. At one Sunday dinner, she stood up in front of my parents and 15 other relatives to announce that my parenting was neglectful and my son would grow up undisciplined because I valued chaos over structure. The entire table went silent as she listed my failures from letting him choose his own clothes to allowing him to eat dessert before dinner on his birthday, while her daughter sat perfectly still in her matching outfit. The month before, I threw my son's 7th birthday party with a bounce house and water balloon fight that ended with 20 kids covered in mud and frosting after someone started a cake fight. She spent the entire time on her phone documenting what she called Lord of the Flies parenting and telling anyone who'd listen that this was exactly why children needed structure. Her daughter's birthday was coming up that weekend, and she'd insisted I arrive 3 hours early to help set up so I could finally learn how proper parents celebrate milestones instead of creating disasters that embarrass the family. Saturday morning, I stood in her driveway watching her direct helpers who were creating what looked like a wedding reception for a 5-year-old with custom balloon arches and a dessert table from a magazine. She handed me laminated instructions while explaining that real mothers create memories instead of messes, as her daughter stood frozen in a $200 dress she wasn't allowed to wrinkle. Family members arrived praising the perfection, while children in coordinated outfits received instruction cards, and my sister-in-law made sure everyone stayed in their assigned zones without touching anything. The craft station required 12 steps to create identical butterflies that nobody would ever play with, while the games were just photo opportunities where kids had to stand still and smile on command. Her daughter moved through each activity with practiced smiles, but I noticed her tugging at her dress collar, and her eyes kept drifting to the other kids who couldn't run or laugh too loud. Everything proceeded according to schedule until my son started telling her daughter about his party, where the bounce house broke and turned into the world's best wrestling match. Her daughter's whole body leaned forward as he described the water balloon fight that became a mud war when someone found the hose and how everyone destroyed the piñata with whatever they could grab. My sister-in-law swooped in fast to remind her daughter that proper children don't need chaos because this party was special and beautiful and everything was perfect just the way it was. Her daughter's hands clenched into tiny fists when she stared at the pristine cake she couldn't even touch until photos were done, and I saw her lips trembling when another kid asked if they could play tag and was told absolutely not. The little girl's voice cracked when she asked why they couldn't have just one water balloon, and her mother snapped that they weren't animals and this wasn't some backyard disaster, which made her daughter's face go completely blank like she'd shut down inside. Her daughter's scream cut through the classical music as she announced she hated this party and wanted a real one like my son had with dirt and chaos and actual fun instead of standing still for stupid pictures. She grabbed the dessert table and flipped it with strength I didn't know she had, while macarons flew everywhere and the museum quality cake splattered across the grass. I hate these stupid parties and these stupid pictures and this stupid dress that I can't even play in, she screamed while ripping down balloon arches and kicking the craft station into pieces. The other children watched frozen as she destroyed everything while sobbing about how she'd begged for a bounce house and water balloons and chocolate cake she could actually eat instead of fancy fondant nobody was allowed to touch. My sister-in-law tried grabbing her, but the girl dodged and ran to the gift table throwing presents while screaming that she'd been asking for a fun party for weeks, but her mom kept saying they weren't those kind of people. The photographer kept shooting as her daughter revealed she'd practiced poses for a month and couldn't invite her best friend because she might not follow the rules and mess up the pictures. Family members stood in complete shock as this perfect child destroyed her perfect party while listing everything she actually wanted, which was just to get dirty and eat pizza with her hands like a normal kid. Everything suddenly made sense because this wasn't a birthday party at all, but a performance where the birthday girl was just another decoration in her mother's perfect image. I dropped to my knees next to her daughter, who collapsed against me sobbing and getting tears and frosting all over my shirt, while my sister-in-law's face went through every emotion from humiliation to rage to something that might have been recognition. My mother-in-law's voice cut through the silence with, "Maybe children need to be children more than they need to be perfect," and my sister-in-law actually flinched while her daughter held on to me even tighter. The destroyed party looked like a tornado had ripped through with cake smeared on the fence and deflated balloons floating in the pool, while the birthday girl finally looked like an actual child instead of a doll someone had posed. My sister-in-law told everyone to leave immediately, and her voice cracked completely as she looked at the thousands of dollars of ruined decorations that had meant everything to her and absolutely nothing to her daughter.